Hi, my name's Carl and I'm one of the graphic designers at Butler, Weimuller, Katz, Craig. One of the greatest cultural shifts in 20th century America came from the introduction of jazz. Jazz was a bold new style of music that incorporated a rhythm made wholly unique through the use of improvisation. This era during the 1920s became characterized by many African American musicians such as Duke Ellington, Bessie Smith, and Charlie Parker, whose performances would capture the admiration of a wider public. Jazz became an expression of the African American community. It held a vigor and unpredictability controlled only by the player. Many of these pioneering jazz musicians would break racial barriers with their mass appeal. Louis Armstrong, for instance, best known for his trumpets and singing method known as scat, became one of the most popular musicians of his time. The rhythm and improvisational style of jazz would later go on to evolve other genres of music, particularly R&B, hip-hop, and rock and roll. Musicians during the 60s and 70s, such as Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, would create improvisational pieces in the middle of their songs, making no two performances exactly the same. Hip-hop and R&B music that arose during the underground urban movement of the 70s would use a method called sampling, in which musicians would use small beats and pieces from other music to orchestrate their accompanying track. Many hip-hop artists of this time would sample jazz music due to their upbeat tempo and almost conversational rhythm, a practice that continues to this day. During this era of music, many jazz clubs would appear in cities across the United States. Their popularity would come to define the 1920s, and their explosive rhythm a symbol of freedom. Jazz music was a growing divergence from the previous status quo.